Manhattan working on a Saturday, lots of head coaching interviews. Mike McCarthy today, he's with the Jets. Dennis Allen, we just talked about the Saints. What do you know about Dennis Allen? Where's he interviewing?
While the Saints are on a bye, Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, is having a head coach interview right now, actually, in New Orleans with the Miami Dolphins. This is his first head coach interview since he was jettisoned by the Oakland Raiders several years back. And, of course, considering the job he's done, how he's built that defense into a juggernaut, you have to actually wonder, why did it take so long for Allen to get an interview? But, of course, he is not alone among coaches who have byes. Brian Flores, the Patriots' de facto defensive coordinator, really one of the more commanding presences inside the Patriots building. He has interviews today with the Cleveland Browns and the Denver Broncos, his third and fourth interview of this circuit. As far as the coach who is playing today, Chris Richard, the Cowboys defensive play caller, another young rising coach who is really impressive, someone the players really get behind. He has interviews lined up after they play the Bucs, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Brian Flores, an amazing presence to a lot of people who have had a chance to spend some time with him. Apparently is going to interview very well. I give him a shot down in Miami. Chris Greer, former Patriots guy. I'm connecting the dots. All right. We've been tracking the Antonio Brown situation for the last couple of days. What do you have there?
My understanding, Mike, is that the Pittsburgh Steelers are expected to consider trade offers for Antonio Brown. They have not closed the door on the possibility that he plays for another team. And really, if you listen to Coach Mike Tomlin on Wednesday, should not be a surprise at all. He talked about the lack of trust, the frustrating, non-communicative issues with Antonio Brown, where simply he went dark on Friday and Saturday when teammates did not know whether or not he was going to be able to play in what was, at that point, the biggest game of their season. They took care of business anyway, but they did not have their best player. At this point, it is possible, at the very least, that he is on another team next year. As far as what they may want, I canvassed a couple of general managers. The belief is the Steelers will want a high pick, possibly even a first rounder. You know they're not going to give him away.
As you've detailed, as we've talked about all week, the salary cap is not going to stop them from making the trade. It's not ideal to take that large cap hit, but they actually gain space by trading him should they do that. Ian, we'll watch that throughout the offseason. We'll talk to you the next hour. Ezekiel Elliott, he's in his Sunday best, but those are burgers and beers on his tie. He knows it's Saturday. True. That is true. All right, there's no denying Antonio Brown's impact on the field since 2014. Number one in the league in receiving touchdowns, 59 TDs, 14 more than the next closest player. So what's the rest of the Steelers locker room thinking right now? I don't know. What are Mike, Rob, and Steve thinking? That's what I care about.
Thank you, GZ. We're over here for Shop Talk. I'm here with Steve Smith Sr. Steve, what's up, man? Wide receiver, man. In the news again. What's up with Antonio Brown? What do you think his teammates think about him?
Well, I think it's very interesting what his teammates think about him, because we now going into, I think, 3 seasons now, where first it was James Harrison, okay? And you had guys talking about that should have been talking. Then you have Le'Veon Bell, now Antonio Brown. I find it very interesting that you keep having prominent players on your organization that people are having issues with, but yet we're not addressing coaching, we're not addressing organization. This just seems like an organizational issue, front office, not handling things the proper way. And a lot of times guys are speaking negatively about players as if those guys were not who they were to this team.
So you're putting it in Mike Tomlin's...
I'm putting in Thompson, the GM, how things keep manufacturing themselves and people are talking and doing all these things. I think kind of shows that maybe there's a chink in the armor.
Well, I tell you, for me, Steve, to me, Ben Roethlisberger should be held accountable to this, too.
Do tell.
He talks about how he's the leader of this team. He talks about how he's the leader of the offense. Yeah, I've earned the right to be able to call players out publicly on your radio show, even though we all know as players you had to have walked past these guys at least 2 times that you could have talked to them directly and dead in any type of situation. Why go publicly with it? I just think that a lot of these issues, if this team is really led by this quarterback, if he's really the top dog in that organization, he could could stop a lot of these issues before they make it big. Antonio Brown's a wide receiver, and I know, Steve, you know all about wide receivers, but the only way wide receivers make great impacts on teams is if they're throwing the football to them and things like that, scoring touchdowns, right? So if you're the guy pulling the trigger as the quarterback, you have every opportunity to make sure Antonio Brown gets in the right place and make sure that he's calmed down so that he doesn't make a distraction for the team. I agree with you. Mike Tomlin and this front office, they need some work to do.
But you have to respect the guy that's attempting to speak to you for that conversation to take.
So you're trying to say it won't no respect, some lacking of respect?
Obviously, there's been some lack of respect if a guy can't address. If you can only address me to the media, but you can't address me face to face, there's a disconnect. We call that dysfunction.
Oh, dysfunction from Steve Smith Sr. and Real Mike Robb. Colleen, back over to you.
Thank you.
Little T.
No dysfunction.
Never. Hey, guys, part of the reason Andrew Luck's been so good, the Colts have kept him clean this year for once. But Watt and Clowney are coming for him today. Who has the edge in that matchup? And get your questions in.